The New Republic calls our speaker today Mighty Mouth. The Washingtonian says that his big advantage over other Democrats is that he knows what to do in front of a microphone. Senator Joseph Biden of Delaware is no shrinking violet. In July, he faced off with Secretary of State George Shultz over Reagan administration policy toward South Africa, an exchange that got his picture on the front pages of the nation's major newspapers. For many, the uncivilized incident confirmed what they already had been thinking about Joe Biden, that his mouth runs well ahead of his mind. It wasn't the first time that criticism had been leveled against him. It began when he first came to the Senate, where he quickly developed a reputation as an enfant terrible. Some say his loose tongue could be his major downfall if he seeks the Democratic nomination for president. More recently, Senator Biden, the ranking minority member on the Senate Judiciary Committee, was a key player in the committee fight to defeat the nomination of William H. Rehnquist to be Chief Justice. He hit hard on the justice's civil rights record and posed tough questions to Rehnquist about whether he intimidated and harassed Black and Hispanic voters in the early 1960s in Phoenix. And he still wound up on the front pages of newspapers around the country. Senator Biden was first elected in 1972. After more than a decade on Capitol Hill, he is still one of the youngest members in the United States Senate. He is ranking minority member of the Judiciary Committee and the second-ranking Democrat on the Foreign Relations Committee. His resume calls him one of the Senate's foreign policy experts, yet critics say foreign policy is his most vulnerable area in running for the presidency. In foreign policy matters, he has adopted consistently liberal positions. He spoke out against President Reagan's use of the Marines in Lebanon and against aid to the Contras in Nicaragua. Until 1985, he served on the Intelligence Committee, where he used his position to press for arms control agreements and for restrictions on the Reagan policies in Central America. During the Carter administration, he used his role on both the Foreign Relations and Intelligence Committees to press for approval of the SALT II treaty. He met with key leaders in Moscow and Bonn to discuss SALT, and he released a report claiming that ratification of SALT II was essential to the well-being of NATO countries. Today, Senator Biden is still talking about arms control and the Strategic Defense Initiative. It's my pleasure to present Senator Joseph Biden of Delaware, the mighty mouth of the Senate, which has plenty of contenders for that title, and a man who would like to be President of the United States. Senator Biden.
Madam President, what a flattering introduction. You are one hell of a lady. I really appreciate it. I hope someone wrote that for you. The last time I got an introduction like that was at a roast at my alma mater, and the president of the university spoke, and then my former football coach, and he said, "Isn't it great to see one of your boys make good?" And he stopped him and he said, Joe Biden's a fine man. He's a religious man. He's often compared to St. Paul. He said, "St. Paul, Minnesota, one of the dullest cities in North America." I really appreciate your even-handedness in your introduction.
Some of your critics say you have a tendency to say something without thinking it through. How much of a problem do you think that will be as a presidential candidate?
I think everything through. I've never made that mistake. I never misspeak, and so therefore it's not a problem.
Now, the final question is this, Senator. How does it feel to be profiled in People magazine along with Madonna and Boy George?
Better than being introduced by you, Madam President. Thank you.